Call this meeting to order. The time is 9 o'clock and the date is 23rd of June, 2026. This is a meeting of the Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board. I note for the record, we have 4 members on the screen. There's our 4th now. And it looks like we've got a quorum. Okay, good. Madam Administrator, could you read the territorial acknowledgement report, please?
In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge with respect the history and living culture of the Anishinaabe, the people of the Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi Nation, who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. We recognize that these lands are the territories of the Chippewa of Saugeen and the Chippewa of Nawash, collectively known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the keepers of this land. Georgian Bluffs is located on lands encompassed by treaties 45.5, 67, 72, 82, and 93. We reflect on our role as treaty people and the need to live in respect and peace and show respect to the first peoples who inhabited these lands and waters.
Thank you very much. With respect to the agenda, I'm going to ask that the agenda be approved as presented. Is there a mover? Moved by Member Mackey. Is there a seconder? Moved by Member Meany. Any discussion with respect to the agenda? Looking at the screen, there is none. Vote in favor, approval. Opposed, if any. None opposed, therefore carried. Any person who wishes to appear before the board, excuse me a second, I'm out of sync here. On the page. Does any member have a declaration of pecuniary interest to declare? None. With respect to the minutes of May 26, 2026, and I'm going to recommend that the minutes contained herein be approved. Is there a mover? Moved by Member Urick, seconder. Moved by Member Kirkland. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Vote in favor of the minutes. Opposed, if any. None opposed. Passed. I'll just make one comment. In the minutes, I was reading, in the reading of the minutes, I noticed there was a list of who attended, who did not attend. You'll see one name missing, and that name is missing, correctly missing. It was Michelle Reynolds. She had given notice of her resignation, and it was right before the last, when I say right before, it came through at 10:15 at night. So the minutes were prepared correctly in the sense that her name was left off because she's no longer a community member. And I'll bring reference to that later on in something that I'm saying. With respect to public participation, is there anything that I need, Madam Administrator, to comment on under 5.2? I notice it's on the
Sorry, what was the question?
it's under 5.2, Detachment Command and Performance Review Subcommittee.
Oh, those were the minutes, the subcommittee minutes, which have already been received.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Any person who wishes to make a presentation to the board must register with the board administrator at least 10 days in advance of the scheduled meeting. To register, you can complete the online form at Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board Delegations, or, which would be easier, call the board administrator at 519-376-2729, extension 601. There is no public participation.
Excuse me, Chair Solers, can we just go back to the minutes of May 22nd?
You can.
Did we skip over the approval and discussion of that one and go straight into public participation, or did I just gap there for a moment?
Yeah, we skipped
Apologies.
over it. I had actually asked, yes, Madam Administrator?
They were approved together with the.
Yeah, they
minutes
were
of the
approved
May
together.
26th.
Was there any comment, Kathy, with respect to 5.2, the Detachment Commander Performance
Yeah.
Review Subcommittee?
So sorry, I didn't realize they were being done together. I only heard reference to the May 26th meeting. So in regards to the May 22nd
Yeah.
committee meeting, I see the minutes there, but we also talked about the local action plan priorities for 2026. And did that come back to the board for approval? I don't see it here as an attachment. I just see the minutes and probably that recommendation for those local action priorities should have come back to council for approval from that committee. Unless I missed it, I was absent at the last meeting.
Harley, did you, or Jody, you want to comment?
Through you, Chair Solis, yes, they came back at the May 26, 2026 meeting, the previous meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
I would just note that those priorities likely should have been added, or maybe they were within the minutes themselves. Okay, yeah, I see it. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Respect to delegations. Any person who wishes to appear before the board regarding an item on the agenda must register with the board administrator. To register, you can complete the online delegation form. Call the board administrator at 519-376-2729, extension 601, or register in council chambers prior to the meeting start time. I note there are no delegations. Reports, Detachment Commander. Recommendation is that the Grey Bruce 2025 Detachment Board Annual Report be received for information. May I have a mover? Mover, Member Dodd, is there a seconder? Member Reaney seconds it. I'm going to defer to the Detachment Commander. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Solish. So I want to start off just before I get into the board report, just to let you all know that we are having a recruitment session, two of them actually tomorrow at the Chatsworth Detachment from 2 till 4 and 6 till 8. And this is for anyone who's interested in auxiliary, special constable, or constable positions. So if you know of anyone, I know some have expressed some interest or have family members. So just keep in mind that that is tomorrow. So I just thought I'd bring that up since it's very close to today's meeting. Moving on to the Detachment Board Annual Report for 2025, I want to note that this is the last annual report for the 2023 to 2025 strategic plan period. So for 2026 to 2029, we have a new plan and new priorities, which Member Coburn mentioned there. So this is the last one for these priorities that were set back in 2023. So I did already present to you all on the year end of 2025, but I'm going to go through the annual report and just highlight some of the things in here. So like I mentioned, these commitments and these priorities were made back in 2023. So they've been in place for the last few years. I'll start with the crime results. So the first commitment was to identify and address actionable outstanding warrants in our jurisdiction. So for 2025, over 250 warrants were executed in Grey Bruce. We formalized our OMAP program, the Offender Management and Apprehension Unit, in late 2025, where we identified two-person full-time units that are focused on offender management in Grey Bruce. This is something that was done province-wide with the OPP. just to work on the bail compliance issues that had been going on. The next commitment was to address and prevent illicit drug crime in our communities and to address and prevent property crime. So in this section, we highlighted our community street crime unit, who investigated 142 occurrences, drafted and executed 62 judicial authorizations, or what people commonly know warrants, recovered 88 stolen vehicles, the value of over $2.7 million, seized 36,545 in offense-related property, and seized 575,528 in illicit drugs, and seized $14,100 in currency. So a lot of great work by that team. To acknowledge, recognize, consider, and respond to victims of crime using a victim-centered approach. And we speak to the work of our detachment abuse issues investigators in this section, and that unit, the 2-member unit, laid 133 criminal code charges, many of which were related to intimate partner violence, criminal harassment, strangulation, and offenses against children. So it's great to have that unit, which was created in 2024. They also were able to connect 516 victims with Victim Services, which is a volunteer organization that helps support victims. It's offered to all victims, but that's how many victims accepted and was willing to work with Victim Services. Moving on to the roadways, waterways, and trails section. The first commitment to reduce the number of impaired drivers on roadways and waterways. There's a lot of numbers there. I want to highlight that our ride programs increased 29% from 2024 to 2025. That was a real focus for us. You'll see all of our traffic stops, Big 4 charges, and whatnot in there. And also our marine unit statistics are there for the waterways. Again, I'm not going to go into all of these because I did report on this at the end of the year already. The next commitment to implement education and enforcement actions to improve public safety on our highways. I just wanted to note here that in 2025, we implemented Municipal 511, which is a platform that it's designed to let residents, road users, get information about road closures. So historically, a lot of our municipal partners have brought to us some issues and concerns that that people aren't getting the road closures in a timely fashion. So we've implemented this in this past winter, and I think that the concerns have been lowered, and we are getting the information out quicker to the broad community using that. So it goes right into your Google Maps and all that type of thing. So that's a good thing that we brought in with our community engagement officer this past winter, and had a lot of media on it as well. And then I also want to touch in this section on our provincial liaison team. Something that came out of our board meetings was the concerns about buggy safety with our Mennonite community. So they have started working with them about buggy safety and are working on getting a buggy safety video going. A member of the community was willing to participate in that. So that will be something that will be coming. The final section is the community well-being results. So the first commitment to enhance and improve our response to mental health and addiction related calls for service. So we've talked about our mobile crisis response team here many times. We had them come to visit this past year. So they were requested 889 times in 2025, and they attended calls 339 times. So just to give you an idea, they're not always working, right? So that's why they're not always available, or they could be tied up on another call. Of the 339 times, excuse me, only 38 times did the person that was being dealt with police have to go to the hospital. Sorry, my watch is talking. That just shows that they are really effective in diverting people away from the hospital that don't need to be there. They're getting them the resources they need at the time and saving the time at the hospital for the police and the hospital as well. There were also 550 referrals to them after the fact. So we also identified our MCERT liaison officer, who you've all met with one of our meetings with the MCERT. So he works with them, provides them the information, and does follow up with them. And I also mentioned in a previous meeting that our grant application was successful, so we have a third MCERT worker. The next section to enhance our mobile crisis response team program to provide access to mental health services specific to the needs of the Indigenous communities. So we did get one in Nea-Shiniming through their health center, and we had a collaboration with them to train their new member to ensure that their clinician was properly trained and that's the success of that program. Just moving on to the other community updates section, I'm just going to highlight a few of the things that we did this past year. So we hosted a 6-week civilian police academy. That was we kind of focused on the younger crowd, the age, where they're deciding what they're going to do, late teens to into the early 20s, and really tried to highlight what a career in policing would look like, having guest speakers throughout the program. We attended area high schools and participated in charity basketball and dodgeball games with high school students. Our community engagement officer also presented numerous presentations to the schools on various topics. Last summer, we hired 4 youth and policing initiative students, or YIPI students, and 1 summer experience student. So those are great opportunities for our youth to work close to the police and to decide if policing is something that's that they're interested in. We are hiring 2 YIPI students this summer and 1 summer experience student as well. Like I mentioned, we engaged with the local Mennonite community, and they also did some school visits there. We participated in the Ride for Hope as Daryl Fox journeyed across Canada. He came from Tobermory down through our area to Collingwood, so we were able to accompany him throughout our area. We did several community events such as Shop with a Cop, McHappy Day, Tim Hortons Camp Day, and the Torch Run for Special Olympics, just to name a few. We also celebrated with Saugeen First Nation by joining in their community appreciation event held at Saugeen Beach, and their Landing Success program that allows students to participate in a 4-week program to earn school credits. And just to speak on that, this Friday is Saugeen Beach Appreciation Day again, which we will be attending. And that was all I was going to touch on. The rest is the statistics at the end, which I've already reported on at the year-end report. So that's my report pending any questions.
Any questions, any discussion? Go ahead, Carl.
What the audience is for this and where it's distributed.
So this is distributed to all the municipalities to share with their councils. And I believe I don't know if they post them on their websites, and then this is posted on the OPP website.
And it should be posted on our website as well. Yeah. Jody or Carly?
On our website in the agenda portion, through you, Chair Solar, sorry, as well as we will post it to our OPP page, OPP board page rather.
Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the report, Inspector. Can you just wonder if we could take a little deeper dive into the OMAP program with the 2 detective constables, and just wondering if that's enough, like what their workload looks like, if there's frustrations with that unit when they're doing their work and they take them back to court, which should be a reverse onus situation, but they're likely released again anyways. I know that does cause some frustration and community angst that people seem to be released numerous times other offenses they're committed. So just maybe a little deeper dive into that program.
Yeah, so the OMAP program came out of the death of Constable Prashala, who was killed in December of 2023 by someone who was out on bail. So our commissioner took to the media and took to trying to get something in place because, if that person was behind bars, that officer would still be with us. So that's where our offender management and apprehension unit came in, because we also recognized that we had more to do as the police, that when there is a warrant out for these offenders, we need to make sure we're taking those steps to try to apprehend them. So this unit was developed because of the size of our detachment. We had 2 people in the role. Some detachments only received 1 member. And their role is to oversee all of the warrants in Grey Bruce. And, looking at some of the dated warrants from years ago to decide whether we can get rid of those warrants or if we should try to track those people down. Just last month, I believe, they arranged to pick up a person that was in Nova Scotia, picked him up on a warrant, brought him back, and they're currently working on one out west. So before we had people dedicated to this unit, sometimes those people that have been wanted for several years get forgotten, for lack of a better word, or don't get the focus they should have. So they're doing things like that. They assign compliance checks to officers that are working the front line as well to make sure that we're checking on the people who are out on bail and making sure they are abiding by those conditions that they've been released on. So they're not doing it themselves, they're overseeing it and assigning work to the frontline members as well. So compliance checks, and then again, focusing on those warrants, trying to get our focusing on our high risk offenders that are out on bail. Those are the ones we do the compliance checks on to make sure that they are following those conditions. That is it. And our job is just to get those people behind bars, and then, you know, what happens at the courts is beyond our control, obviously. So we just want to make sure that we're apprehending them and when they're out there and are wanted.
Thank you. You make the statement that what happens is in the courts is beyond your control. I agree with that. Once it's there, it's there. But do you monitor the results of convictions and acquittals or anything along those lines?
For sure. And I know, you know, it's hard not sometimes for an officer who's invested their time in a case to not take it personally, right? But we explain to them, you know, you do your work, you put your best case forward, and that's all you can do. And you're getting that person off the street for a period of time anyways.
But it can be a learning experience too. Maybe there was a weakness in the evidence.
Yeah, and sometimes that is, you know, something that we're always learning too. If there's something wrong with our case, then that's something we're going to address with the members as well. Absolutely.
They do have presence in the courts as well. We have special constables that monitor all our bail proceedings. So we have live input, whether from the jail themselves, so that we have real-time results of if the person's released and our records need to be updated, or if they were remanded and they go to penitentiary or wherever they may go. So we do have real-time feedback on all of that. And once again, where the OMAP program really supplements any lack of resources in the past, these are 2 net new positions that weren't taken away from frontline. So we're able to provincially add that resource locally and then take that time and resources to bolster bail hearings. So while we don't have control over the whole courts, we have control over how much time we spend providing all the information needed for a successful bail hearing or any other proceedings. That's really the big value in these positions.
Okay, any comments arising from mine?
I'll just take this moment. Sorry, I meant to introduce Sergeant Matt Starzecki that's here with me. Matt's been with us in Grey Bruce for a long time. 10 years? 14. 14, okay, yeah. And he has filled in for Staff Sergeant Anderson when she was away on vacation. And he also did a recent acting assignment in Wellington County as an acting staff sergeant. So he's here with me today and is a wealth of information as well.
Thank you. Any other further questions of, yes, go ahead, sir. Paul? Did you have anybody have a question there on the screen?
No, I just had a thumbs up for
Okay.
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to point out, you know, the frontline staff hours have increased significantly, you know, over the last couple of years. So thank you for whoever's involved in getting more frontline officers on the group.
We're still working at more.
Go ahead.
Through you, Chair, just a comment in view of the last couple of weeks. A very rough time for police officers and their families. And so I'd like to think that this team support the membership fully and would do anything we possibly could to sort of make a safer community for you as well.
Yes, it's been a couple of weeks and I've been having meetings with my platoons. Actually, the timing was good. Last week and this week, I'm meeting with all the platoons early in the morning and I'm stressing to them. We have a very young detachment right now and I'm stressing to them to look after themselves, check in on each other and their families, because families know that when we come into this job, there's an inherent risk. But when there's so much tragedy in such a short period of time, that's hard on families and friends too. So thank you.
Member Colburn, you had a question?
Thank you. It's more just a comment. I would reiterate the appreciation through you, Chair, to our detachment commander. And when I read online about the work that our police services is doing, even in the last couple of months, I know how very busy that they are. I just want to go back to Member Ellis. I think it was Member Ellis made a comment about where this plan, the annual report and the action plan, local action plan as well, might appear for the public. And that's great that they're on somewhere embedded in our municipal web pages. But wouldn't it be great if we could at some point do a press release and send this? These are all good news stories. When I look at the stats that have been provided in the commentary by Detachment Commander Barfoot, it's really too bad that we don't have a press release to go out to let folks know all of the good things that we've done here in Grey Bruce. On behalf of the board, that type of a press release, and also what the board has decided our priorities for 2026 ought to be. I think it speaks to transparency, and for folks to go sort of looking for that within our web pages, I don't think it's likely going to happen. Is there any hope or expectation, Chair, for that kind of press release or communications to go out anytime in the future? Do we have the capacity with our admin support currently to do that?
That's a good question for the admin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Our director has stepped out of the room, who is currently overseeing the communications portfolio. I do know that we presently don't have anybody in the communications position. There was a recent turnover. Unfortunately, she's not in the room right now. So I can't
speak for her?
Yeah, I'm doing my best, but I don't want to speak for her or dedicate her to anything, because I know that she does have that gap currently. But perhaps it's something we can revisit when she's back in the room.
When she's back in, let's revisit it and answer. Yes, Kathy.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Carly. I think it speaks to our document, our procedure document, that ought to outline our roles and responsibilities in our memorandum of understanding as well. The board may want to include that as part of the role of our admin staff, that occasionally there be those kinds of press releases go out. I don't think it would be often or onerous. It might just be highlighting what our year's priorities are and highlighting the end of year report as presented today by Detachment Commander Barfoot. Just a suggestion for clarifying that role going further down the road.
You got that one, Carly? She's nodding. Monica.
Good morning, everyone, and just wanted to, just through you, Chair, to the last point of Councillor Moore, I'm 100% in agreement with what was mentioned, especially with the climate of what's been reported recently, these good news stories, but this also having the presence in media, as we know, is something that's very important these days, will be very helpful also to us, that we'll be able to share these type of things out, official channels and all of that. So I think it's a great thought and something to continue into progressing, which is something to be very hopeful for.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Just on your recruitments, how many are you looking for? You had various positions you're looking for, and could we do or assist the municipalities in doing a better job for that, and realizing that these would be local jobs on the police force? You're not, I know my son's an RCMP officer, and they're throughout Canada. They don't get the opportunity too often to come to Ontario. Whereas this would be, and do we focus on that when we're looking for recruitments, that you will remain local, or it's your choice? Or
So with the OPP, you have to be willing to go anywhere in the province when you sign up. However, you get to pick your top, I believe it's 6 right now, your top 6 choices. Well, we have 4 in Grey Bruce. There's 2 in South Bruce. So if you put those down, there's a good chance right now with the recruitment efforts here locally that you would stay here. But there is still, we are the Ontario Provincial Police, so we can't guarantee people that they would stay locally, but we are focusing on Grey Bruce right now, so there's a very strong possibility that if they put us down, that they would stay local. And that's why we are trying to do our local recruitment efforts here, because we do have a recruitment unit. However, I think it's a 3 or 4 person unit for the whole province. So they don't spend a lot of time in Grey Bruce, right? They focus on the bigger centers where they're gonna have bigger bang for their buck, right? So we've tried to make our own efforts locally to focus on the local people that want to live, police, and invest in our local communities. So that's why we try to do these sessions. And the 3 positions are auxiliary, which our auxiliary unit is down to what, 5 or 6 right now, I think. So we could really use auxiliary members. I think 12 is what we've had in the past, 11 or 12. So auxiliaries are our volunteers that come out, do community events, do ride-alongs. It's a great opportunity for people who are considering policing to try. And also we have older people who they've already got a career and they just wanted to give back to their community, right? So there's kind of 2 different candidates that we see for the auxiliary program. Special constables, we are not currently hiring in Grey Bruce, but it's an information session that you're at least aware of what this position is if one comes up. And then constables, we have a few vacancies in Grey Bruce and there's more to come. So again, chances of if you're local and you want to be here are a good chance you'll start.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To that end, it was just very briefly mentioned at the last meeting. I just wanted to say that, again, Meaford, we're in negotiation right now. We're hoping we have a potential of getting detachment. And to your point, yeah, there would be obviously an opportunity there for hopefully growth, because it's going to be substantial detachment with a fair amount of employees. So hopefully that, if that comes to fruition, that will provide a little bit more growth as well. But my point was going to be, so I'm going to harken back to the communication aspect, and I agree with that distribution. I'm just wondering, Jody or Carly, I know that the minutes often get distributed at councils, and I would like to think that the councils always go through them with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm going to say that doesn't always happen. Is it possible to get out the annual report broken out as a separate, that I could, because I would love to distribute that through council as a standalone attachment and get more attention than if it's buried in a minutes that somebody might or might not look at. So I just think that might be helpful as well as a method of distribution.
Thank you through Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair. The intention would be that that document is circulated to the councils individually. We had done that last year as well. So following the meeting, Jody will send out just a copy of that annual report, and you can forward that to your clerks for inclusion on the agenda.
Perfect, thank you.
And if I could just touch on Member Yerrick's comment there too. So in Grey Bruce, we currently have the 4 detachments, and 3 out of 4 are older detachments. We are over capacity and it's hard to draw people to those kind of facilities, right? So with the new facility coming in Grey Highlands and then hopefully one in Meaford, that will really help with our recruitment efforts as well. Because when you have beautiful facilities, people want to work there, right? So we're very excited about these new buildings, and we think it will really, really help us with our recruitment efforts.
Inspector, one other possibility for new recruits, should they not initially be able to be accommodated in the riding, is a duration posting. And my understanding is still that you have a bit more flexibility at the end of that duration as to where you might come back to in your own area.
Yes, so duration postings, depending on where you are, anywhere from about a 2 to a 6 year commitment. And once you complete your duration, you pick anywhere in the province you want to go to. And if there's a transfer list into there, a waiting list, you go to the top of the list. So as soon as there's an opening in that detachment, you go there. We are actually just got 2 people that have lateraled from here from the north that are arriving in August and both August. August and September. So great news for us. One is from the community coming back. The other has ties to the community and chose to come to Grey Bruce. So really good news story. We also, actually, we just received one in May or June as well that came from the north, from Thunder Bay. So yeah, we've had 3 this year that have transferred in, that have made roots in our community. So great news for us.
The recruitment that you talked about tomorrow is, I'm trying to understand, okay, there's young people that still have education to pursue. Maybe they're pursuing it at a university outside the area. So they obviously aren't going to be today for the jobs you have today. Where are the people coming from that would show up tomorrow that are candidates to go to work that have the qualifications? Like, why are they already policing somewhere else, maybe in Peel, or like, I'm just trying to understand where all of a sudden you get these people that would meet the qualifications to even be considered as recruits currently.
So these people that come tomorrow, they might just be someone who's in university, or maybe they're in grade 12 and they want to pursue policing. So this is going to tell them the steps they need to take. Here's what we look at to make sure you're a good candidate. So you can start preparing now, or maybe it's someone who's, you know, in the application phase and they just want to make sure that they have everything that they need. So it can be all kinds of people, or maybe it's someone who's just thinking, maybe I want to try policing, right? Maybe they have another career and they're just considering it. So it's just, we have a recruitment ambassador at Grey Bruce, Sergeant Krista Linthorne. So she knows all about the recruitment process. And she's there as the expert in recruitment to give them all the information they need, answer any questions they have, and hopefully set them on the right path.
But those are future potential police officers, as opposed to you have vacancies you want to recruit and fill right away. But probably most of those people you just referred to are a year or 2 or 3 or more out before they're ready, and they maybe not made a decision. So is there a way to recruit? As an example, I hate to use the term pirate, but somebody that works in Toronto that says, I'd love to get the heck out of this city. And boy, if I could move to Grey Bruce, wouldn't that be a wonderful opportunity?
So the OPP does not recruit from other services. We do not do that.
Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chair. No poaching, that's good.
Yeah.
You said about retention, I just tweaked with you, I'm just curious. Do you have kind of, what you said was, you know, for people kicking tires, just see if they're interested in the career of policing. Do you have kind of any statistics on what that might be, how many people actually look at that versus how many actually go on to become career police officers?
So how many people come to our sessions and actually officer? Is that what
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose, or are literally from incept, how many people kind of step in, go, do it for a year or 2 and go, yeah, this isn't for me?
I would imagine that our recruitment unit has those statistics because they do, you know, the number of candidates, their backgrounds and whatnot. So I would imagine they would have those statistics. I personally don't have those, but I would think they would keep some sort of statistics on that.
On that point, we have a gentleman that's done very well in his career, and he's retired early up here, and he's gone into your auxiliary, and he just loves it. He's retired, but he's probably, I think he's about 55 or somewhere around there, and he just loves giving back to the community. So I think that's one of your biggest opportunities for that program. We have a ton of people that love to come up to this area and retire, and they work from home, say if they semi-retire, and give back on that side.
Yeah, because that's the nice thing is the people that they're just wanting to do it to give back to their community. They're going to stick around in the program for several years. It's great to get the young people who want to be police officers, because we've had several of those who have then moved on to police officers, which is great, because then we're still gaining the message and losing them from our auxiliary.
Anyone else? Checking the board. Member Coburn. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Through you to Marla. Just going back to your comment about special constables. at the PGO conference this year, there was a panelist who was quite vocal in saying that we likely don't have enough special constables being hired, and how many tasks they can actually do at a much cheaper rate of pay. So I guess my question is, do you feel as though we have enough special constables, or do you have the authority, Marla, in deciding how many special constables we hire, or is that dictated to you from OPP from above?
Thank you. So yes, that is dictated from above, how many positions were allocated, similar to constables, sergeants, all the positions. It's decided by our general headquarters. So we have 5 special constables in Grey Bruce, which we're actually quite lucky to have that many. We don't have court security responsibilities, which some detachment areas do if they have a courthouse in their jurisdiction. So we have Owen Sound and Walkerton courts that our members go to for court, and neither one of them are in the Grey Bruce OPP detachment area. So we do not provide court security, which is something that special constables are usually a part of. So we're lucky to have 5 special constables who help out in our detachment through monitoring court virtually, helping with briefs, disclosure, prisoner transports, and escorts. So I would say that in Grey Bruce, we're quite lucky to have those 5 members.
I can tell you from my own personal experience over the years that the special constables are a significant support to any detachment. They take away some of the mundane work, shall we say, away from the regular constables that could be out on the road in general duties. And they do a good job of protection, serving warrants, sitting, swearing in the intake, doing all the paperwork. Is there anything this board could do to try to convince somebody to free up and allow you to get more? I agree with Kathy. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're likely at a cheaper rate, a cheaper cost, so that's important. And number 2, when you're pushing paper, it's getting somebody out on the road and away from doing the jobs that your regular constables are doing.
So just to, on that note, so we do have the 5 special constables. We also have 4 dock positions, so detachment operation clerks. There's only 3 detachments in West Region that have those. We were part of the pilot. So that's 4 more, they're administrative employees. So they're not special constables, they're admin only. But they also 1 per platoon, so they work strictly with a platoon. So that platoon has 1 administrative support person that follows them throughout their shifts. So that's another huge addition of administrative help that our members have that not everyone in the OPP has. We're lucky with that, with the support that we do have.
Nothing further the board can do. I mean, it's just my own experience. You don't want a constable sitting in the intake swearing informations all day.
Our special constables do that. Our officers do not do that.
Good. Okay. Anything further? We beat this one up. Okay. Thank you. Now, did we need to do anything with her the report? We've got the discussion. Allowed it. Call for the vote. Approved. In favor. Opposed, if any? None opposed. Carried. Nothing on administration and finance. You got off scot-free on that one. Consent agenda. Anybody want to pull an item? I don't see anything there. So.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, Bob, go ahead.
Not pulling, actually in correspondence, and maybe I'll bring it up under new business, but there was something came in just this last Monday, which obviously didn't make this correspondence list, might be on the next, but I just want to bring up that correspondence from the police board regarding board next year. So whether you want to do that under new business or...
I'd rather do it under new business because I'm going to be addressing something that will lead into that in any event.
Okay.
Let's package it all up together. The motion is that the Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board adopt the consent agenda for information as circulated, and there's all of the items, and all items contained herein be approved. Favor Member Dodd, seconded by Member Erd. So all in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Correspondence. We have two pieces of correspondence. There's an all chiefs memo and there's an inspector general monitoring. The all chiefs memo is Police Services Board and the OPP Detachment Board members and elections. And the inspector general is monitoring Toronto Police and Board's readiness for the World Cup for 2026. And is there anything on that, Madam Administrator, we should be doing?
Through Chair Solar, those items were accepted through the consent agenda with the previous vote.
Okay, thank you very much. And resolutions from other I'm sorry, I thought somebody had a comment there. Resolutions from other municipalities are none. Now we're into new business. Start off with myself. There were two items in new business that that I'm going to address. One is a West Region Detachment Board Symposium, and the other is a Zone 5 meeting. And I'm going to put them on together at the same time, so I'll read from my own script to remind myself of what I was going to say, and then open it up. I've recently attended 4 meetings or conferences, being the Police Governance Board Conference in Niagara Falls, the Police Governance Zone 5 meeting, the West Region Detachment Board Symposium meeting in London, and the monthly virtual discussion group session. I will provide comments regarding the Zone 5 meeting and the symposium meeting, but bring references to issues and comments regarding the other two. You may recall that I notified the organizers of Zone 5 that due to the declining interest and low attendance, that I am requesting that this matter be addressed and included on the next Zone 5 agenda in the interest of fiscal responsibility. The relevant parts of the meeting, in my view, were the guest speaker, an update on provincial appointments, and my concerns related to our board's concerns. The guest speaker brought to our attention how collisions are reported, the nature of collisions related to types of events such as alcohol-related, animals, just as an example of how the information quickly works its way into the hands of the police as well as insurance claims. An excellent presentation and a good understanding of how this information is received. Any learning experience I derive related to policing is worth learning about. Hank Seard, who is with us today from the province, presented and provided good updates on provincial appointments as to boards as well as other matters. I note that Hank is here today and he may wish to comment when the opportunity arises. Again, good information, as it's becoming evident that many boards have concerns about continuity going into the new year. I weighed in with Hank and continued into my concerns. I asked Hank, considering the concerns I have been hearing from some of our members, other boards, our association, if he had any comments on community appointees, and understandably he indicated that this mandate is handled by the municipalities. I did note upon a roll call initially of attendees, there were several other boards not represented in that meeting. This played into a comment their chair made to me at the annual conference when I introduced myself, that his concern is that he may not have a quorum, that if we withdrew. I asked Janine Berglund from our association, who was there, to provide any comments, and she took over and gave a list of reasons why being a member of zones is important. She addressed the need for stronger governance through connection, learning, and leadership by attending discussion groups, zone meetings, attending conferences and education sessions, assessing PGO resources, and so on. They are opportunities for board members to build confidence, strengthen governance skills, and learn from one another in ways that rarely occur during board meetings. Her points were well taken in my view and supported a good reason why we should continue to attend zone meetings, Zone 5 meetings. I do note that Owen Sound was either 3 or 4 members at the zone meeting. As well, it was pointed out that Zone 5 will hold 4 meetings per year, 2 in person and the other virtually. The next in-person meeting is scheduled to be in Owen Sound, and I met some of your colleagues there. So you may want to volunteer. From my personal experience in attending not just the annual conference and the Zone 5 meeting, I was able to connect with others in both the virtual discussion groups as well as a symposium in London, and now have a feel for the general concerns of what other boards are concerned with. Hence, when you quantify what it costs to be an active member of Zone 5 and the benefits that arise, in my view, it's worth it. The more information you get, the better. What caused me to turn my mind to addressing board appointments was the fact that one of our community members, being Michelle Reynolds, notified our administration, as I mentioned earlier, as well as myself, that she's now resigned as a board member. She is no longer a resident of Georgian Bluffs. I had a few concerns, one being what our responsibility was in this regard, and concluded that the only thing we could do is to notify the municipality of Georgian Bluffs, which we did. At the same time, I was concerned about governance continuity during board transitions. A few of our board members also had concerns about continuity and tentatively losing some of the good work and experience from our board once the board is established, as well as our administration, I might add. We know that once the municipal election is held, the municipalities will select board members from their own councils, as well the provincial appointees are appointed by the province. As for the community appointees, I noted that an ad hoc selection committee had been established to assist in the selection of board members. That committee has since been dissolved. Hence, other than what the regulation states, it appears that the only remedy in place for an absentee position is to report to the municipality that they represent. With regard to the West Region Board Symposium, I attended with Inspector Barfoot. The agenda was tightly managed by Chief Dwight Thibb, and presenters adhered to, for most of the part, to their timelines allowed. Presentations were made regarding service delivery model, action planning and detachment commander evaluations, healthy workplaces, traffic statistics and benchmarks, recruitment, crime investigative collaboration, as well as how availability and how grant funding works. I found the symposium extremely informative and learned much about policing that I was unaware of. All of this is useful in measuring and understanding the results in the reports that our detachment commander presents to us. I suggested to Inspector Barfoot that when the new board is formed, that she and members of her detachment could consider making a scaled-down presentation to our board. If you don't mind me saying it, Marla, she was in agreement, and it's something that I believe would be helpful to all of us. And she's nodding her head yes and grinning at the same time. I found that very worthwhile. So that said, that is my summary of what Board of Zone 5 was and of the symposium meeting in London. Now, I open the floor to any questions or discussions that may arise, and I open the floor to the members. 1 second, Kathy, to board members. And I'm going to ask also the administration to weigh in as what's being done from the administration side, so all the information is out there if possible, okay? And I think the first person who had a comment was Kathy, I think. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I have 3 comments. First of all, just to reiterate and back up your statements, Mr. Chair, regarding the zone meetings, I haven't attended them, so I can't speak to that, but it sounds as though that's valuable and our participation should continue. But also the PGO discussion forums that are held, I cannot say how valuable those are to board members. I know I've said this before, But I really think we should have attendance at those zone meetings and discussion forums on a rotating basis so that we can get as many board members out to those as possible. That's going to make for better governance overall. And I think it's important that everyone have an opportunity to go to those. That's just one thought. In terms of Chair, your comments about continuity and community appointees, at first I wasn't sure about that because I was on the selection committee, the ad hoc selection committee, which was really a subcommittee of the board that hadn't convened yet, but the idea was to select community members from a variety of different municipalities, and then the next term we would select community members from different municipalities so that it could, it was just sort of more fair and more equal. But given the short term this time, or short board term being slow out of the gates, I really see a lot of value, if it's possible, in continuing with the same community members for the continuity piece. We're just sort of, finding our stride as board members. And I think it would be really too bad in a few months to start anew with potentially a lot of new municipal elected officials on board, but also new faces from the community. That concerns me in terms of board continuity. So I don't know if the board could address that at this time, but it really would be a shame to start all over with a group of new community members. That's my second point. My third point, and I'm sorry for being verbose, but the absenteeism of the community member from Georgian Bluffs has concerned me for quite some time. And yes, officially we hadn't received resignation, but in reality, that board member hasn't been attending for quite some time, and that's unfortunate. That speaks to a lack of effective wording, or a lack of wording at all, in our procedure bylaw regarding attendance expectations. The big act that we follow is quite strict in its wording of attendance at these board meetings, very strict. And I think our procedure bylaw ought to reflect that, and we ought to have some phrases in there that help us deal in a consistent manner with ongoing absenteeism and what to do midterm should we have a member resign. So if I know nobody likes motions on the fly, but we've discussed this before, I would like to make a motion that our procedure bylaw be amended, if it hasn't already, to address the attendance issue and also the process that we ought to follow should there be a vacancy arise on the board midterm. Thank you.
Any comments from administration?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I can start with the community appointee and the transition of the board. So that subcommittee that was established was a subcommittee of all of the participating councils and not of the board, because the board was not yet established.
Correct.
So that was an appointment process that the municipalities agreed to and put in place. That, unfortunately, in those terms of reference, that subcommittee was dissolved as soon as the board was formed. So because the municipal councils are responsible for doing the community and their council representative appointments, I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes to collaborate with the clerks from all of the representative municipalities to establish a process or make recommendations to those councils about how to handle the appointments going into the next term. I can't speak for all the municipalities at this point, because they'll have to decide how they want to move forward. But continuity and reappointing members is certainly something that they could consider. In their previous discussions, it was noted that they would like to see an opportunity for municipalities that didn't have representation to be appointed. So again, I can't make a promise to you on behalf of those municipalities, but just for the board's information, I have been doing all of the background work, including preparing advertisements if we get to that point, preparing terms of reference for a new subcommittee if that's how the municipalities decide they want to move forward. But it will ultimately be up to them to decide. I just wanted to let the board know that that work is happening behind the scenes, and all of your representative clerks in the municipalities will be bringing something forward to your council.
Okay, that's good information. And before we even entertain the motion, Kathy, go ahead.
Sorry, my screen and audio froze there for a couple of seconds, but I think, get the gist of what Carly was saying through you, Chair. I think that the recommendation for how to select committee members ought to come from the board, not from necessarily just from our admin staff. So I think if there's communications going on with other clerks and other municipalities, it's the board's responsibility to weigh in on our recommendations for community appointees. That recommendation should be coming from the board for the member municipalities to decide on. So I wonder, I'm sorry, again, I missed some of what Carly was saying, but certainly I would hope that the board would have some official recommendation rather than having support staff go ahead and speak on our behalf for us. So I'm not sure how far along that process has gone, but now's our time to make some recommendations.
Okay, did we lose them? Just a sec. Can you hear us? We're bringing you back then. Jody, I'll let you weigh in.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Jody, do you want to weigh in?
Future solution. I just thought maybe I did receive correspondence from PGO from Janine Berglund addressing a few of the points that Member Coburn brings forward. So I don't know if you'd like me to read those just for the members. It might be easiest. I could circulate it. They did weigh in regarding the community appointment selection, and they did recommend that the board did not select those members. It says where participating municipalities have established a selection
Is this the
committee.
one that came out yesterday?
No, this was like, I reached out to them for their perspective just because I assumed these discussions would come up. So I can circulate this email. It's quite lengthy because it touches on various things. It also touches on the procedure bylaw, but their recommendation was not for the board to select their own community appointees, just for transparency and fairness, essentially. And then there was additionally a comment regarding, because it had been brought up at a previous meeting, a possible amendment to the procedure bylaw. So I did reach out to Janine just for an opinion there. And she said that the board can manage attendance concerns, but the authority to revoke an appointment remains with the appointing person or body. And if there are continuing participation concerns that interfere with quorum, for example, or some other situations, it would become an issue for the Inspector General to become involved, she said, or the Hank, essentially, as well. No, okay. That was their email, which I can circulate. It's quite lengthy, but those were the two questions that we had asked.
Go ahead.
First thing, just before we get to that, is just, you never did get are you letting your motion stand? Because if you are, we need a seconder to discuss it, which we didn't really do that. So Kathy, you gonna continue your motion?
Yeah, so if I remember correctly now, my motion was for our procedure bylaw to be amended to include a statement about about member absenteeism. And so this is, I'm not, this isn't just coming from Kathy's world of creativity. I've gone on and looked at other boards' policies in terms of reference, they call them. here we call it a procedure bylaw, and it does speak to absenteeism. It does speak to, it reflects on what the Act, the Community Safety and Policing Act, says about attendance at board meetings. And so I do believe that we need some statements in there regarding what the expectation is for participation and not being absent, as do other boards, police services boards. And I still believe we need some language that deals with what the board ought to consider when there's a vacancy midterm. Currently, I don't believe we have any wording on those two issues, attendance and vacancies. So I would let that motion stand.
There's your answer.
Sure, there's maybe nothing we can do about a member that's absent for months on end, but the expectation would be in our procedure manual, and I think that carries some weight. So yes, I'm going to let my motion stand. Thank
If the
you.
motion stands, do you want to put the motion before the board? Do you have the wording? Sorry.
We just need a seconder for the motion.
I think the motion stands, the seconder is member. All in favor? Sorry?
I seconded yes.
In favor?
Yeah, now it's open for discussion.
Now it's open, yeah, right. Now it's open for discussion. Is there any further discussion because the motion's standing?
Related to that, so when you mentioned, Jody, the PGO correspondence, and Mr. Chair, you did as well yesterday, so it did beg a couple of questions to me as well that are kind of related in continuity, because it specifically did say that board members should disclose their decision to be a candidate in the October 26th municipal election as soon as possible. So is that incumbent upon us to let you staff know that we have or are planning to? Or should people not, who choose not to, should they be disclosing to you as well? So you have an idea as to, on a running basis, who is and who is not going to be doing it. Because what came out of that same correspondence later is, even if people do not choose to run, as with various boards, it takes a period of time between the new council coming up and making those appointments, that standing members, even if they do not run, may still continue on this board for a period until the new appointments are made. So my question, long-winded that it may be, is do the board meetings continue right through as soon as the election continues? I know with GSEA last time around, there was literally a period of time. It waited until the appointments were there before it assembled. So are the OPP board meetings to continue with elected officials as well as non-elected officials then who are willing to continue to stand until the new appointees are determined?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Mr. Chair, if I could, excuse me, just interrupt this discussion and ask if we require the services of Commander Bartlett to sit here for this. She might have more pressing matters, unless there's something else on the agenda that she needs to be a participant.
Not that
I
I'm
don't see
aware of.
anything, so I mean, I know one of her officers already left, so I just thought I'd bring this up.
I think the heads are shaking, yeah.
I'm okay to stay.
You're okay to stay?
She had another commitment on that.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
fine. Thank
You don't
very
want to miss this gripping stuff.
Okay. Now, I didn't ask Hank to weigh in, but you may want it to weigh in with respect to stats and provincial appointees. I don't know.
Well, as far as stats and provincial appointees are concerned, approximately 18 months ago, I took over this role. There was roughly 22 provincial appointee vacancies in Zone 5 alone. As of right now, we have 4. That's on 2 OPP boards, and there's 2 per board. So overall, Zone 5 is in great shape with provincial appointees.
Okay, that's what we wanted to hear. Okay, Bob?
Just in that respect, Hank, at the conference, I talked to a number of other board members from other areas. And I was surprised to hear them saying that they have vacancies for provincial appointees. The whole process to me is convoluted. Why is it that there isn't a standard term for provincial appointees? We have some 2-year, 1 year. And it's like, you talk about continuity, and it was recognized, this came up at the conference discussions, they know there's an issue with continuity because of elections. Yet, from the provincial appointee standpoint, they don't seem to be coming up with an approach that makes sense to provide continuity. Like, logically, if it were 3 years, and you could even have, in our case, 3, and have them at least rotate 1 a year. But there doesn't seem to be any, from the ministry's perspective, initiative to address this.
You want to respond to that, Hank?
Yeah, for you, Chair, I totally agree with you, 100% agree with you. The IOP has zero control on provincial appointees. My only involvement is to assist staff with connecting with the public appointments secretariat, which we've done before on a couple occasions and proven beneficial for this board. When I, as the IOP, I have zero input on making selections, reappointments, renewals, other than, I guess for lack of better words, being inconvenient for them, being a pain for them by email them all the time saying this board's short, which I do on a regular basis. And I think it's gotten us to where we're at now with other boards. But the IOP has zero control on provincial appointments.
Well, who makes up the decision to appoint for 1 year or 2 or 3?
That would be the Public Appointment Secretariat, which is totally different than the IOP.
And on what basis do they make it? You don't know. Okay, that's right.
But wouldn't you think our association, while they don't have control over the decisions, would be able to lobby and present and advocate for the Solicitor General to address this situation? It just seems to me like it's, okay, well, we don't make the decision, but surely there needs to be an initiative.
Okay, I would agree with you, but I think we're going away from from the topic we were on already.
We are, but in the sense of the big picture of continuity, it is part of it, because we're all representatives here. And I mean, as far as community appointees, well, okay, I think that it should be the municipalities. If it's community appointee, surely they have to appoint their own, not the board. But that's just my personal opinion. That if the board says, no, we want that person from Georgian Bluffs to be the appointee, and Georgian Bluffs says, well, that's not who we want.
Okay, Kathy, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, so it's not as simple as all of that, Member Nichols, because we don't have one rep per municipality, right? We have just a fraction of the member municipalities represented by our community members. And so I think the municipalities, and I stand to be corrected, but I think they're looking for a recommendation from our board. They're not sitting at our table. They don't know. They don't know the difficulties we're having. They don't know the continuity discussions. So I just don't want this conversation to snowball so that we're still talking about it an hour from now. I go back to the point that I made about making a recommendation from the board to our member municipalities to either A, stick with the current community members that we have for continuity, plus one other one, because Member Reynolds is gone, or we alternatively have the option of recommending an ad hoc subcommittee be struck as a selection committee and go through the same process that I know Member Mackey was part of this process along with me, where you you put an ad out, you receive applications from community members, you review the applications, you have a discussion, you make a selection, and then you make your recommendations. I think that's a time-consuming process to replace community members that have really only been on the board for a little over a year. But we do have those two options. So we can sit here and talk till the cows come home about how convoluted and unfair and difficult the situation is, or we can put forward some recommendations to try to help the situation and address some of the continuity concerns that we have.
Any thoughts on that? Carl, your turn.
I think with each municipality having a rep at this table, your geographic coverage is already hardwired in, right? Every municipality has got an appointment. The community members, from a governance best practice point of view, I think you'd want to look at a skills-based. And we had a slow start here, and we're just getting our feet under us, and I think we're just beginning to cover off what we're legislatively required to do. And I think it would be a big loss of institutional knowledge and some of the forward momentum we've got if we basically start over with a new board in October and November. So I guess that's where I'm at, is geography's covered already. I would look to a skills-based.
I can ask, I see Nicole's on the screen, but she's not she's hiding behind it somewhere. Nicole, did you have anything to add? Oh, we've got her.
Sorry, good morning. My computer might die. That was, and I was trying to get on my phone, but I just think we're a little off topic. First of all, we're down a rabbit hole that maybe is not related to the motion that is actually on the floor. And in relation to that, I mean, as a community member, my understanding was that it is going to be just a short-term thing. And then it was rotating around to the other municipalities. And, you know, I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with staying. Like, I'm okay either way. I just think that community representation is the key. So as long as the communities have a voice and are represented, it doesn't really matter to me if it's me or somebody else. I just don't want to lose that aspect of it. But I have to turn off my camera because it drains the battery faster. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I knew you'd have an opinion in there. Go ahead. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first part of Member Moore's motion around attendance, I agree with and would certainly support. I think, you know, in our policy procedures, we can make a recommendation on what the attendance should be. Attendance, if you're part of any group, attendance is important. That being said, I've missed the last two meetings.
Like efficient.
But I do agree that, you know, we should certainly reference that in our policy procedure.
You're under the three strikes you're out for roll.
Yeah. I think the municipalities were led to believe, not led to believe, but they were told that there would be a rotation of the community appointees. So I'd like that to go back to the member municipalities. You know, I agree our community appointees right now are kind of just getting up to speed, and I can certainly argue that it would be nice to see them continue. But I don't want to take away from the municipality's ability to appoint, you know, Chatsworth, for example, doesn't have a rep, their ability to be able to appoint someone. I agree with the skills matrix and, you know, going through the process that we did to get the community appointments this time, I wouldn't mind the board going through that again instead of the municipalities, but allowing the other municipalities to have an opportunity, I think is important, because that's what our terms of reference originally stated. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. Any last comments? None? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I apologize, Carly. I'd like you to speak to it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I believe that I might need to clarify a little bit of the path forward. So when I mentioned that I've been doing a lot of work in the background, it's not that the clerks are preparing to make a recommendation to the councils or develop the process. What we'll be doing is authoring a report that goes to all of the municipalities to say, here's an option, here's an option, here's an option. So the municipalities will be the ones selecting A, the process, and B, they'll be doing the appointments as well. So it's not that we as staff be telling the councils what the path forward is. We will be compiling all of the information so that the councils can make a recommendation, and all of the municipalities have an appointed representative on this board, so they can advocate for whichever process that they think is best in this case. So if Member Coburn thinks that keeping existing continuity and the existing members, and extending the appointment of that term. That's something that each individual council member can advocate for, and that report goes to their respective municipalities.
When is that report coming out?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I can't tell you for certain, but I can tell you that I have been desperately trying to convene all of the clerks so that I can present the work to them so that they can present it to their municipalities. So
It'd be fair to say
I
that
am working
that
on-
report would be out before our next meeting.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I can certainly try that, but it depends when individual councils will be meeting. So it will depend entirely on, for example, Georgian Bluffs has one meeting in July, and that's on July 15th. So I could try to get it on that agenda, but I can't say the same for other municipalities as well and their agenda pressures. But I can let you know that I am working to convene the staff so that I can get that report together for them to take to their municipalities in the beginning of July.
Would it be beneficial to hold that motion until the next meeting, waiting for this report? Revisit the motion, I should say.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the motion that's on the floor is not related to community appointments, so that's fine. I'm just providing for the board's information what the next steps will be, because it is on the municipalities to establish the process. And what I am doing as an administrator is providing them with those options and that framework so that they can select a process, whether that be reappointing, whether that be establishing another committee, etc. So I'm putting all the information in front of the municipalities and their clerks, which is why we're meeting.
Yeah.
Their clerks will present those individual reports to their municipalities.
I don't want to slow down the speed that is required for continuity. So I'm just wondering, Kathy, you had something else to add?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank Carly for the clarification of that. I do find it a little odd that that report wouldn't be coming back to this board first before going to the member municipalities. But I think in terms of timing and that we don't have a lot of meetings left, both at this table and the municipal tables, that's probably the most expedient. I just wanted us to get back to the.
If you froze.
Question.
Well, actually,
Go ahead, Bob.
before you do that,
Oh, she's frozen.
yeah, while she's frozen, because her motion still related to attendance and continuity, and it wasn't specifically about community members, and that's what a lot of this conversation rotated around. I want to harken back to my question because I think it's directly related, because it literally says in the edict from the PGO, we're supposed to be declaring and letting you know. So are you going to be asking us, or is it incumbent upon us to let you know that what we're planning to do? Because we should either way let you know, because as this dictates, that a person that's not running again can still be on a board for 6 months thereafter, or until that appointee is selected. So you need to know from a continuity perspective, who's going to still be at this table municipally, not just community-wise. So how are we going to officially get that into your record?
Chair Solers to members. Yes, it would be the responsibility of the member to put forward if they intended to run again.
Or not.
Or not, correct.
So everybody should be putting in their intention, so you're aware, so you have the numbers of what potentially could be coming around the next time around. Okay.
I don't think you need anything formal on that. I think that's pretty clear.
No, but people need to be aware.
Yeah.
That we need to do
Well,
that.
that's why I'm trying to get this thing moving. And from all angles, I'm getting hit in the back of the head from the association. Get it on the floor. We're getting, if you take a look what came out from Janine the other day, and ask everybody to read it. I know I've talked to a couple of the members around here. We're all concerned. The last thing we want to do is lose the continuity of all the members that are sitting here today. May all of the elected officials be back, not just in your municipality, but sitting around this table. I think 3 provincial appointees will be, and I think the community members have heard the message. Let the admin know what our intentions are, and tie that into the report that you're getting. So the question then comes back to Kathy's motion. Is that motion in front of the board?
Yeah, and so I just want to be clear too, if you don't mind, Chair, it's about wording in the procedure bylaw that addresses not only absenteeism and the expectation, but also what process do we follow should there be a vacancy midterm. So there's two parts to that motion, just to be clear.
Okay, go ahead, Jody.
Did you want me to read the motion?
Read the motion. It's time we get on with it here.
What I have,
Otherwise, we're here today.
what I have, that staff be directed to amend the procedure bylaw to address midterm vacancies and attendance issues should they arise.
Kathy, did you catch that?
You're muted.
You're muted, Kathy.
Sorry, I'm up north and having some connection issues. I heard the second part. Did the first part address the vacancy issue, Jody?
Read it again so it's clear.
Through you, Chair Sellers, it did, and I will read it again, that staff be directed to amend the procedure bylaw to address midterm vacancies and attendance issues should they arise.
Okay.
Thank you, that's perfect.
Do we have a seconder?
We had
We already did. Okay, time for the vote. In favor? Opposed, if any? Was that an opposition? Or you just waving at us, Paul? Well, it's carried anyway, so all in favor, it's a majority. Okay. What is next? We beat that up and I'm not going any further. We're on to that last part of a report that I had asked both Bob and Kathy to make with respect to the conference. Do you want to go first?
Well, I thought you wanted to.
No, I'm not talking to the conference.
Oh, you're not?
No, I asked yourself and Kathy.
Okay, well,
Or did Kathy?
I know Kathy always makes copious notes, so she'll have a lot of detail to provide that I won't, but I guess a few observations. This was my second conference. I apologize for my voice as well, so I won't be long. I think a few things that I learned. First of all, it was interesting to hear the stories. The difference between an OPP board's role and municipal boards, of course, is considerably different. When you talk to the municipal boards and all the budgeting they need to deal with respect to their councils and sorting, which in this case, that's not even a factor for us because each of you individual municipalities have negotiated your contracts. So the cost of policing isn't something you need to get back to as at a board level. We don't need to deal with. And that was, it creates a lot of challenges for them. It also makes it a lot different for us. There was an opportunity to hear a bit more about how we can communicate with our detachment commander, the best approach to take, how to bring forth our ideas and get that feedback. My sense is that in talking to so many other board members, which the communication with them from other areas in itself is quite valuable. We're ahead of the most of them from what I could hear. I think it's been a struggle. We've seen our own struggles to get things going with the onerous training that needed to be done, creating bylaws, and I think our staff here, our administrative people, deserve a lot of credit for the work that they've done. And I haven't heard or seen anything at the conference that suggests that we've gone off the rails or that we haven't been bang right on with the approach that we've taken. So that was reassuring to hear that. The other observation, and I know Kathy and I talked a lot about this, there's a lot of politics comes into the association. Of course, the Solicitor General came and spoke to us, as did the Premier. And our president, who certainly I would have to call him a lobbyist almost for the association and for law enforcement and the resources that are being allocated by the province towards safety. It strikes me that the provincial government is very high on prioritizing safety and the work of law enforcement in each community. And I think that's good. Maybe it means that other areas that are important in terms of things that need to be supported, i.e. social agencies that help with drug addiction and homelessness and other things like that, are being neglected, but it's going to be a tug and pull. But in that sense, the one comment that came out of the Solicitor General says that and when one of our speakers from, I forget who it was up there, talked about reopening the jail in Walkerton, which I'm sure, Marla, you would say would be a huge benefit for the area, wouldn't it? Now, you know, for him to say that to everyone at the conference, I thought that, you know, he's put himself on the line. And we all know that it's a challenge for this area when we don't even have an area jail to hold people. So that was good news. And so anyway, overall, I just think, you know, the educational process, there's a value of all the breakout sessions, understanding the organization, how there was one we went to that was about how the organization, the OPP, is structured. Not that it matters because our contact is with you, Marla. That's really what's most important to us. Who your boss is or your boss's boss is really doesn't matter. Some of the sessions were maybe more beneficial for municipal members. But overall, I guess I could just say that it was a worthwhile experience, and you learn something new, and some of it's maybe a little bit repetitive from the year before, but overall, I thought it was good.
Just clarify. Who said about the Walkerton jail being open?
Solicitor General.
We're held to secrecy in Bruce County on closed session from the Solicitor General. That's why I was shocked when that came out at a public meeting.
Yeah, well, he stood up there. I don't know which one of us was. Was it you, Monica, or you that maybe when, you know, spoke and said, we're from Ray Bruce?
Yeah.
And he just blurted it right out.
Okay, no, that's good. It's good to know more than once.
Yeah. No, he made you know, it wasn't just a very slight comment.
A big deal about it.
Well, it's been in the media also.
Well, it'd be after that. Or in trouble. As long as it didn't come from Bruce County.
Jay Kirkland.
You're talking to yourself.
Okay, where were we? Kathy, I'm sorry. Kathy, did you want to weigh in with your summary of the conference?
Sure, yeah, that would be great. I agree with Bob. It got a bit political, and that felt awkward and inappropriate. But overall, it was an excellent conference. I thought better than last year because they completely separated the learning for municipal police boards versus OPP detachment boards. Two common threads throughout the conference. One being how important it is for boards to be the voice of the community, and that we need feedback and constant input from community members in order to be doing our jobs properly. And the other common theme was that boards ought to be moving from a passive type board where we're just receiving information to being a more active board. And I have some notes on that coming up a little later. The one section I attended had to do with performance evaluation of the detachment commander, which was validating because I think although our timing was a little off, I think we certainly did a good job of that in terms of process. They emphasized how important that performance evaluation is in terms of the board's responsibilities, but that in order to do it properly, we really need to be hearing from the community. So I'm not sure I agree with Member Nickel in that we're ahead of other boards. That's not the impression I got, but I think we're doing okay. I think we still have some work to do, especially in the area of connecting with the community to ensure from a board perspective, not a policing perspective, but a board perspective and governance perspective, that our local needs are being met. So we still have some work to do on the community engagement and feedback part of it. There was reminders about Bill 119, which is a huge bill, but Section 3 is what pertains to police service boards, and that emphasizes strong police board accountability. The Solicitor General also reiterated that police boards should ensure and facilitate the voice of the locals in addressing our local policing needs. There was a good session on new board members onboarding and orientation, and stating that the support of our board admin support staff is very important. And that appointments to the board should be ongoing and as vacancies come up. So not to sit on vacancies over months, over months, but dealing with them as they come up. We can perhaps look to Police Governance Ontario, PGO, to standardize for us that onboarding process of new board members. And that's something for us to look for in perhaps the next term of the board. But until that comes along, I think the board, from what I gathered as to what was said in that session, we need to be thinking now about how to onboard new members. Yeah, should I just carry on? Keep going, Jerry?
Keep going,
Is that okay?
Kathy.
Okay.
You got the floor.
In terms of governance, our decisions need to be evidence-based, informed, and intentional. And then they had a list of things to avoid as board members. We're to avoid meetings that are administrative and information heavy. Avoid over-reliance on municipal administration. Otherwise, there tends to be role creep. And avoid not tracking deliverables. Meetings should be focused on strategic oversight, purposeful and decision driving, focused on risk and outcomes, and impacts that are visible and demonstrate value to the community. And one way we can do that, as a reminder, the chair sets the agenda for the board to make sure that we're on track with that. There was also discussion on policies. Our policies need to be in place, and that the roles are clear between admin staff and the board. There was a lot of talk about transparency, and one of the discussions had to do with our website presence. So obviously it's not ideal for our board's website to be embedded in the municipality of Georgian Bluffs, right? But it's expensive to host your own website. So for now, that's going to have to do, I think, but PGO is looking possibly in the future to hosting a website for police boards collectively to use separate from municipal websites. There'll be a cost to that, but it will be much less if it's shared between all of the police boards. So that's something to look forward to as well, because currently with transparency expectations, you know, ours is a little difficult for folks to find in terms of those web pages. And a reminder about transparencies that most discussions ought to be had in open session. The only exceptions are if it's an HR issue, identifying a member of public or staff. Basically, unless there's a risk of putting anyone at harm, it should be an open session. Interestingly, police boards are not bound by the Municipal Act, nor are they bound by FIPA regulations. So that was a bit of a surprise to me. The local action plans, again, there should be public engagement. PGO may provide a community survey to use in the future. I think that's something we should look forward to and maybe place back on their plate. They talked about how important the local action plans are and how they're really the equivalent of a strategic plan for boards. It should be a living document and flexible to change over time. We should be checking in regularly with the plan to make sure that we're on track and that it aligns with the pulse of the community. Terms of reference, we call it a procedure bylaw. It should address, again, that they were saying in the meeting, it should address attendance and expectations. Other boards include that language and how it can be handled. There was a request of PGO to come up with a funding formula, which it was an interesting topic given one of our agenda items today. But they had asked, some boards are asking PGO to develop a funding formula for boards based on the number of households. So other boards are splitting the costs that way according to per capita formula, while other ones are simply splitting the costs equally. So that's being done in a number of different ways. Their minimum policies. So again, PGO is presenting to us a list of 16 minimum recommended policies. I think maybe we have 3. So when we say we're ahead, I don't know if we're ahead, because if it's 16 minimum policies being recommended and we have maybe 3, I don't know that that necessarily tells us we're heading in the right direction, but I think there's still a lot of room for more policies to be developed. A lot of talk about the community and safety well-being table. And that's how we get some information from other organizations and the community. And just to highlight again, one of the members mentioned it already in discussion, but PGO recommends a skills-based matrix for selecting board members, and that wording should be embedded in our terms of reference or our procedure bylaw. So we are looking to ensure the board as a whole has expertise in things like strategic governance, financial literacy and budget oversight, HR, legal and regulatory knowledge, risk management, community engagement, EDI, Indigenous relations, public safety and well-being, leadership and organizational oversight, communications, community and social services, mental health and addictions. So I believe PGO already has developed this matrix for us to use. And if we are thinking of adding that to our procedure bylaw as a recommendation to member municipalities as well as community member selection, PGO would be the organization to go to for that matrix. And then just finally, there was an interesting panel, and one of them, I believe, one of the panel members was, I think, an academic. But he said, as board members, we should be asking questions that pertain to operations. And if we're not really having any meaningful governance oversight. So it was sort of comforting to hear that there's a sweet spot between staying out of operations, but getting enough information about operations that we're sure that our oversight is effective. And there was a section on AI that I won't go into. I think I've talked enough, and I'm happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Any questions of Member Coburn? Any from the administration? Any further comments? Here's your chance. Yes, go ahead, Jim.
Just clarity, and I'm not sure if Kathy, you can answer it or not, on the performance review of the detachment commander. And it's not anything against our present detachment commander, but typically when I do a performance review, I can do something about it. They're either an employee of the municipality or they're somebody that we can help with their job description. Is the province simply looking for recommendations from us on a performance review? Because I don't believe we can tell Marla what to do in her job. Our performance review, and where does this performance review go to make sure that we're being heard? Because somebody has to be able to tell Marla what to do, not us. And yet we have to, maybe I'm confused on that part of it. So just clarity for me.
Is there anything that the admin can clarify?
I'm happy to take a stab at that too, Jerry.
Just a sec, Kathy. Marla has something to say.
Through the chair, as Chief Gibb mentioned at the symposium in West Region, the performance feedback goes directly to West Region. So my supervisor, who is my superintendent, and the chief reviews that, sees it, and adds it to the performance review they do.
Oh,
so they do see it, they get to read it, and they also do performance review or evaluation, and so that would be.
Kathy, did you want to weigh in there?
Yeah, so our job as the subcommittee or the board in terms of the DC performance evaluation is to first set the deliverables. So we kind of had to do it a little bit backwards this year because of the timing. But first you would set your local action plan priorities for 2026. And, you know, if reducing, oh, Marla, give me a simple example of what might be on that priority list, but reducing break and enters or crime-related activity. So we're identifying those priorities, and Marla's evaluation is then based on the deliverables within those local action priority plans for that year. So if we don't see you know, X number of ride programs or I'm trying to think of arrests related to break and enters, we would be looking at those deliverables and that data against what the deliverables were for identified in the local action plan. So we wouldn't be getting into HR issues or how Marla's dealing with her necessarily with her staff, unless there's some kind of a complaint we had to deal with. It's mostly about, are those action items that we've identified as priorities for Grey Bruce being met? And I wonder if Carl might have more to add to that since he was on that committee as well.
Yeah, I think you come back to Marla's comment around that there is process for that. We do our work, and then there's internal OPP work. So I haven't had any concerns about that piece of it, Kathy.
I guess where we would fall into trouble is if we gave a direction or a hope to Marla that was totally unachievable that the province didn't like. So we give an example of, we don't want any ride checks in our district, and she still has ride check. Is that, like, could a board go that far and give a direction that is totally, I guess the word would be ludicrous, and then, you know.
So she made it pretty clear, don't tell her how to police.
And that's where I have the hard time with and it's going to be a learning process for me, more or less on the deliverables and what the board expects, because we more or less expect what the province is setting for guidelines.
No, like we had a really good conversation, well, at least from a board perspective. Marla maybe didn't feel the same, around where we wanted to see focused time and attention, and it was if you follow how we put together that strategic priorities and then the local priorities in the plan, and then we developed targeted areas where we wanted Marla and her team to focus on within that plan. So the big four were listed, and 10% increase in patrol out in proactive patrol. So it all kind of filters down. I would assume that if we made a directive that they not do any ride checks, that would conflict with orders Marla's getting from her boss. And I don't know whether there's a process in place where this board would have to meet with OPP leadership to try to hash out that difference of opinion. But I don't think we could give orders that were outside of what she's receiving from her commanders. Maybe I.
So is that a collective process where you're literally sitting with Marla and talking about a wish list and what's realistic, et cetera?
So it was new for us, but yeah, there were a list of those priorities that we had agreed to, and over the course of about 3 hours, there was a lot of back and forth around where should we be focusing our time, and Marla would say, well, the top four, and we'd say, well, we would ask about, is there data to support that? And in some cases there is, and in some cases the data doesn't exist. So I think in the one topic, one of the objectives is to try to compile some additional data to support the MCERT work that was happening. So it's new. It was new for us, and probably took longer than what it will in the future, assuming some of the board continuity continues on. But it was kind of a back and forth, and
Well, that's where I have a bigger scope on this. And as long as we, like what I look at, and when I first got on this board, I'm trying to figure out what the board's for, what we do. And as long as we stay within the provincial guidelines of how your area should be policed, and we pick 3 or 4 different objectives to be a little bit more within those provincial guidelines, then we're okay.
yeah. So for me as a board member, it was kind of the first time that we were having a conversation, fulsome conversation about where policing should be focused in Grey Bruce over the next year. And I know we've talked about, well, let's talk to the Mennonites, or let's focus on. We've dabbled around the edges at this table, but at that meeting was the first time I felt that we'd had a fulsome conversation about where policing could go in Grey Bruce in the year ahead. And my one regret is that it doesn't perhaps happen at this table. But, yeah. So, and then when that report did come in, it was tabled as a report, we voted on it, and off we went. Well, and perhaps in hindsight, we could have had more discussion about where we were going to focus policing on in the year
I'm
ahead.
going to try to wind up just, Hank, did you have any clarification on anything that Kathy said? Anything to add?
Maybe a couple things. Just to be clear, there's an onus to provide adequate and effective policing. So your example of telling the detachment commander had 0 impaired driving charges is clearly not providing adequate and effective policing in the community. So the commissioner would step in and would definitely say, you can't do that. That's not realistic. So your role as a board to provide adequate and effective policing, that would be contrary to that. We can go back a little bit as far as the attendance of meetings.
Yeah.
That's all captured in the code of conduct as well, the CSPA. If board members aren't attending meetings, that's an offense in the code of conduct, and you could be held accountable. Obviously, fishing is a good example, not to attend with the chair's permission perhaps, but there are reasons if you.
I didn't ask permission.
There's members that aren't attending meetings on a regular basis. There is a mechanism there to have a complaint with an IOP, which is probably what Janine was referring to. We'd get involved, do an investigation, and there could be a direction from the IG for a breach of code of conduct.
Oh, that's good clarity. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what
and likewise too for replacing members, that's actually enshrined in the CSPA. It's a process. If a committee member leaves, how to have that person replaced. But that's in the CSPA.
Okay, that's good
That's
to
in your
know.
policy development.
Okay, can we move on? Or where were we? Madam Administrator, I think I could sum up that. Oh, we've got one more into new business? Sorry? I'm sorry?
9.4.
9.4. Okay, you mind if we just keep plowing through? We're almost there? Don't need a break? Or do we? No? Okay, if you already took one, or you're on your own. Okay, 9.4, reconsideration of the current funding formula based on equal contributions from each participating municipality, and review if this model represents a fair and equitable system, or if amendments should be considered. And this was, I think, put over by Member Mackey, further to the north, provided by Scott Mackey at the February 24th, 2026 meeting of the Grey Bruce Detachment Board. Scott, did you have something to add? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I was glad to hear Member Colburn reference that other police boards are looking at the funding of their budgets on a per household basis. So the reason I'm bringing this forward, currently every member municipality is paying an equal amount, $10,000 to $11,000. So I guess I'm having a hard time justifying that if someone asking why we're paying the same, and I'm going to pick on, not pick on, but I'm going to pick out Meaford, for example, because they're one of the larger municipalities that's sitting at this table. Chatsworth, the township of Chatsworth has 2,700 households. Municipality of Meaford has 5,400 households. Meaford's budget is 20 million, give or take. Chatsworth budget is 8.5. So the proportion that we're putting towards a police service budget is significantly higher than what Meaford is putting towards it. When the police do our police budget, it's on a per household basis and calls for service. You know, when I look at what we pay conservation, we pay far less than what Meaford does because it's on an assessment basis. So I'm having a hard time justifying the amount of money that we're spending, and I'd like the board to consider looking at an alternate way that is fair and defendable. I guess that's my primary wish, is to have staff bring back something that, some options for the board to look at.
Okay, Jay, you wanted to weigh in?
Just on that, Scott, and I understand where you're coming from. But then at the same time, probably this board, it doesn't make too much of a difference. But then you get into a voting process that if you're paying a percentage of your taxpayers less, you're not getting one full vote on an important issue, and Meaford gets 2 votes. Is that where we're heading for this? And to me, you know, we have to be fair, and I'm okay with either or, but if the bigger guys are gonna pay more, do they get more votes? Or do we split it, that they just simply pay more, but only get the 1 vote, and it's 1 vote per municipality or member? I just didn't know how we would be asking the staff to kind of
Jump in, Scott.
I'm not looking at a weighted vote situation that we would have, which is, you know, at the county population base. It's not certainly based on the amount of money that you contribute towards the county. You know, at conservation, the only time there's that weighted vote is when it comes to budgetary matters. So any other matter that's before the board, it's not weighted, other than Meaford, as having a larger assessment, has 2 members at the board, where Chatsworth has 1. But for our purposes, I'm not looking at anything weighted. I'm just looking at something that's fair for each household, that they're paying a proportionate amount, you know, similar to what our police budget would be. Like, that's, I guess, what I'm looking at. I just can't see how we, with half the budget of Meaford, half the number of households, should pay the same amount.
Hey, Bob, jump in. I think Kathy's next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't disagree. I mean, it does make sense, although Marva will say crime has no borders, but I get it. But you're right, from a representation perspective, that makes sense. My question is, do other boards do, like, is it, I don't know whether this is a across the board, a provincial scenario, or everybody does their own thing?
So the legislation says the default is split it equally, but then you can agree to another allocation.
Just curious whether that was allowable even.
Hey, did you have any comment on that?
I couldn't say it better. You're absolutely right. It's default even payment unless the agree upon different method. For example, in Essex, they actually have 3 communities, one pays 45, one pays 45, one pays 10%. That's agreed upon by.
So that's fair.
Actually, so.
No, I'm done.
Nothing, you're done? Okay.
So, and that was pertaining to my question. So that if we're gonna give direction, then I would suspect that we'd get a staff report back on this. That was, I wanted to be clear on what direction we're gonna be giving staff. Are we looking at a full weighting system, or are we looking at just?
You want options?
Well, I don't think we need the option if the board's okay with not going with the weighted vote system. If it's only, you know, just for the actual payment and the dollars and cents of the payment, actually 2 points there. So I just don't want staff to have to put time into a weighted system if we're not expecting that as a board. If it's just for the dollars and cents of household count on how, but that to me is simpler than trying to go to the.
One last point of clarification. Bob, go ahead.
Well, I hear both sides of it, and I mean, I'm not a representative of a municipality, but I am a taxpayer in Georgian Bluffs. I have no idea whether this would benefit or not benefit Georgian Bluffs, but I'm wondering about the connectivity between the role of a board. I understand that Meaford pays more for policing, but then supposedly they get more because they need more. They have more households to police. So I'm not sure that there's a relationship between that aspect and what we do as a board. What we do as a board, we sit around here and we hopefully provide, without reference towards our individual communities, Marla's direction as to how she delivers as the detachment commander. And you could get into the argument, well, okay, if you're going to do that, then maybe those municipalities that pay more, they should be the ones that get the community representatives because they should have more representative, or they should have more than one municipal rep. I think in the scheme of things, personally, we're all here to equally contribute and see that collectively in the catchment area for this detachment, that everybody's getting what they need. And I know as a provincial appointee, and I'm sure Carol, you feel the same, that we're not here to just make sure our municipalities we live in get the benefit. So our role as a board isn't the same as what you look at the grassroots of what the OPP do actually for the money that you pay, which is obviously more in a larger community. It just makes sense that it would be, wouldn't it? But I'm just trying to understand that connectivity.
Let's finish it off.
But, just to respond in fairness, Mr. Chair, to our vice chair, those of us that are sitting here as municipal reps are accountable to our public for the budgets that we're spending. Provincial appointees have no accountability to the member municipalities' ratepayers.
Right.
So I'm speaking partially in that regard, so that there is a fairness that I can respond as to why we are paying X amount. That's what I want, is a justification.
Okay, last voice, Carl.
But when you're sitting at this table, you have to make decisions in the best interests
Of the entire Great
of the
Lakes.
entire area. So you have to put your
Absolutely, but difficult to do.
And
it's hard.
I firmly believe that fairness is part of that.
Yes.
No, I'm not arguing that. It just, you have to be careful.
Because this could keep going on and on. Carol, do you
Just
want
quickly.
Point of privilege, Chair. I've had my hand up for quite a while. When you
Sorry,
get to me.
Kathy, I owe you one.
If I may, I want to build on what the vice chair has said. And first of all, Member Mackey, I understand where you're coming from, and I commend you for looking out for your municipality in terms of dollars and cents. However, the comparison with Grace Sauble is that is per capita based on direct service to the community. We're not talking about policing service and splitting that cost. We're talking about the costs attributed to this board. And further to Carl's comments as well, we're paying for things like policy development by our staff. That policy benefits us all equally. It's not about policing service, it's about the work that's done to support the board. And we each get a vote on that equally. So I'm not sure that splitting it according to per capita makes sense. If we were talking about police service delivery, it does, but we're talking about the costs associated with the work of the board and mostly our admin cost.
Okay. Let's move on.
But are we gonna give direction to staff?
Oh.
Like, that's all my question.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would move that we give direction to staff to bring back funding options for the board to consider. I think that discussion, that we've had today, part of that discussion can be held then, once we have the options in front of us.
Okay, that's fair.
I'd like to see what options.
But we also had the discussion last meeting, and we were going to send a letter to our First Nations communities to see what they thought on this too. Did we do that? Because that's almost in the same, I don't know if you were.
Well, we sent out a letter to the First Nations community.
Yeah. So if we.
Did we not?
Through Chair Soldiers, you sent an email to the First Nations representatives.
Yeah, and we're to both First Nations representatives. and I've had no response to date.
Well, I see Mrs. Roots here today, so I don't know if she received your email, or who was?
I would think so. Faye, I sent you a copy of an email about a month ago, or an email.
Sorry, I have to, I have problems with moving around my computer. Got so many of them going. Yes, I did, but we haven't had an opportunity at the council level to discuss this.
Yep, I sent it right after the meeting. Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Faye.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
but it will be on the agenda for next Monday's meeting.
Yep, okay. Good
So
enough.
this could be part and parcel to what Scott's, that he, you know, if it's a per capita or per household that we look at.
Well, if it's going on their agenda, we may have an answer for coming back quickly.
Okay.
Okay. Was there a motion here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I move that staff bring back funding options for the board to consider.
You got that one? Go ahead.
Should get a seconder, or all this conversation is for naught?
There's a second. We got a seconder. It's Member Kirkland. Okay, do you want to read it back?
Through you, Chair Tillers, I just verbatim wrote down what Member Mackey said, that staff be directed to bring back funding options to the board to consider, obviously regarding this notice of motion.
Okay, all in
Just
favor?
a discussion on that. Staff, are you okay with that direction? You understand? That makes it simple enough. Okay.
All heads are nodding yes.
Good.
Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and not that I'm trying to defend paying more, but Kathy, to your point about GSEA, it's not actually a direct correlation that it's pay for service, because watersheds, like crime knows no boundaries. So when you're paying for services through watershed, it's not, it's very much like this. When you're paying into the kitty, you're not necessarily doing it proportionally geographically because the watershed share.
Yeah, but let's save that to when the report comes out.
Just needed to be taken into consideration.
Pardon me?
We're gonna debate this all over
Yeah,
again.
we're
It's a
gonna do-
motion, so everything
There's a
talked about
motion,
today,
yeah.
it's gonna happen all over again.
That's
isn't it?
right. All in favor? Opposed, if any? There is an opposition from Monica. Did you oppose? Just for the record? Okay, you're in favor, and Paul, you were in favor? Because the hands were going up slowly on the screen. Motion passed. Moving on, there is no unfinished business. There is no consideration of motions where notice was previously given. There are none. And with respect to notice of motion and discussion and inquiries, are there any notices of motion, discussions, or inquiries that have been provided to the board administrator in advance of this meeting? No, Scott?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, it was just under the unfinished business.
Oh, yes.
I guess it's a question for Member Yurick, who brought up in a previous discussion around giving notice if you are intending not to run, or if you are intending to run. I guess I'm not sure what difference that makes. I mean, if a member that is intending not to run can serve, I think you said, an additional 6 months, that would still be at the direction of the municipality, would be my thought. I mean, I guess I'm not understanding how someone that's not running, or someone that was not elected, could continue to be on this board if the municipality, didn't want them on this board.
Depends, the chair, depends how quickly, and that was my question about whether the OPP meetings continue or wait until the appointees are set, because it could literally be a couple of months before appointees are set. If council at that point says, yeah, are they going to say former appointees, going to ask them if they're going to continue even if they're not elected, versus we haven't got to an appointee yet, who's coming to the meeting? Because if that elected official steps out and goes, okay, I'm done, they should be asked if an appointee hasn't been set yet. Because I know when we did, for example, GSEA, unless we prioritize OPP, it may not be made for 2 or 3 months. So there could be totally a gap in attendance because nobody knows if they're going or not.
Thank you.
Okay.
There is no question there will be a gap. You know,
Yeah, no, totally.
this board won't be functioning for 6 months after the
Right,
next election.
Did you want to clarify anything there, Carl?
right.
It won't.
Just a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. With respect to that 6-month overlap, it's just that the act provides that remedy. So it's within the act and you're allowed to, in the event of a gap, you're allowed to continue as a board member. I believe the declaration of I'm running or not running was with respect to any conflict of interest implications. And if I'm totally wrong, Hank can correct me. And with respect to the gapping, this is something that we're trying really hard to avoid. When it comes to a delay, this board may not be meeting. This board will not be meeting in October, and we don't anticipate this board will meet in November either. Given that, as an administration team that supports you, we are running an election and then onboarding a new council.
Right.
But the intention is that the gap isn't 6 months, but there will be a slight gap, but the intention is to maintain membership so that there's not a complete blip in that membership moving forward. And as you all are aware, there are some pretty intense training implications that new members will have. So our intention is to address the community membership so that if there's new members appointed, they can complete that training. And the same goes for council members. We cannot guarantee that council members will be reelected. That's something that's sort of out of our control. So we're doing our best to minimize that interruption and that gap. But of course, the things that are out of our control, we'll just be relying on potential remedies. And then, of course, it also depends on our capacity to actually attend and carry on a meeting for you. So the intent is to minimize, but there will most likely be a gap at the end of this year.
Right, so when I kind of brought that up earlier, the one thing that's in there, and then maybe Hank can answer, I don't know. Is there an expectation from BGO about whether there's specific gapping allowed? Is there an expectation that the board should continue? I don't know what the expectation.
I think they're going to have to solicit it. Ask us.
Well, my understanding was win or lose, I make a commitment that I'm staying for that 6 months if my municipality wants me to.
Right.
So if I lose the election, I'm still staying for 6 months until my municipality can replace me or the new representative gets his training or her training to replace me on the board.
Right, that was my understanding as well.
Yeah, that's what.
That's the continuum, but I don't know what the expectation is from the board from a higher level. Are we expected to say, no, as soon as you guys are ready to go, the elections happen, get back and get going? Or are they willing to sit back and go, no, you guys figured out, take 3 months off? Is there a meeting from above that says what we have to do as a board?
Charlie, did you want to weigh in there?
I can.
Or, so go ahead, Sam.
Thank you, Chair. The expectation is going to be a gap. It's not just in grades, it's going to be across the property. There's going to be gaps everywhere. That's expected, I think. Whether it can be minimized, this will be encouraged. There will be further correspondence coming out either this week or next week by way of IG memo addressing the election process. So more information is coming in the very, very near future. I know it's coming. But I think the reality is there's going to be a gap.
We're going to have better picture for next meeting.
Yeah.
That's the easiest answer. Can we move on? Okay. Ask that question again. Are there any notices of motion or discussion or inquiries that have been provided to the board administrator in advance of this meeting? I'm not aware of any. Kathy?
Sorry, Chair Solar, are we on to number 12? I'm just confused about the wording because I do have some notices of discussion.
Yes, we are on up to number 12 right now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I think for an upcoming agenda, I would like to recommend, and forgive me if this was dealt with at the last meeting that I missed, but I'm still wondering about the MOU that we asked for the admin staff. So that could come back. I think we need to get going on the budget decisions. I'm encouraged by Member Fay saying that it's going to their council, but I think this needs to be decided and brought back to our member municipalities soon, as the election is looming. So that's the second one. I'd like to talk about policies that need to be added that are from that list of the 16 minimum recommended policies, number 3. And then finally, number 4, I'd like to talk about a process that staff could possibly develop for board orientation and onboarding. So some kind of orientation manual and training process for our local board beyond what we get through the training, the online training that was mandatory. So those are 4 that I'd like to add, please and thank you.
Okay, you've got those? You've got those? Okay. Anything under bylaws? None? No closed session? Adjournment. Date of the next regular meeting is Tuesday, July 28, 2026. Recommendation is that the meeting be adjourned at 11:15 a.m. Is there a mover? Member Erg moves it, seconder, Kirkland. I think he's saying, let's get out of here. Any discussion? None. All in favor? Opposed, if any? None, hopefully. Okay.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.